Hey everyone, I hope you're having a nice weekend. So for today's stream, we're gonna try to continue trying to open source our overlay and our Twitch chat client. So the goal of today's stream is just to continue doing that, right? So we made some changes to the client Friday. We added some more testing. We looked into a bug that was happening, like a race condition that was happening to our chat client, and we were having a bit of an issue where some of the messages were getting there before the client even started. So we went and fixed those. What we're going to be doing today is just pretty much the same. We are going to go through we're going to go through it. We're going to make some changes where just to open source it. So we left off building a mock server for emotes API. So we're just going to continue working on that emotes API. So that's what we're going to be doing today, just making sure that we're ready to open source it. There is a couple of things that we need to make sure to have before we feel comfortable open sourcing this for other people to start using too. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today, as well as a way for us to handle the configuration file. Because right now the configuration file is available, it's at the root of the project, and it has a lot of information. So we want to make sure that that information doesn't end up in the wrong hands. So that's kind of like what we're going to be doing as part of today's stream. And then we might get sidetracked a couple times, but that's fine. But yeah, let's get started. So we have a emotes API. We started writing a utility server for it. We just need to make sure that the utility server works correctly and is returning the right information that we need. In our case, we just need to save some of that information in our test mock data, which we already have. So this is how the data from the API looks like. So we just have to make sure that we are using that as part of our testing. So let's go here and see what we need to start writing some tests. And the goal is to just open source this library for other people to start using it. It comes with the overlay for the chat. It also comes with the alert notifications. The only thing that someone has to do is set up the right configuration for it. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. As part of this thing is that we're going to be doing is like make it easier for other people that are not me to use this. So yeah, I'm going to write a test for getting emotes by ID. And the goal is to just make sure that we have a good test coverage for all the third-party APIs that we're using, and making sure that we have like all the right tools in place, like all the right testing, so we know if it works or not later on. If we break something, our test will break, so that's kind of the good part about it too. So here we have to pass. We should see what our the utility server that we were writing. We should see what it does, like how we initialize it. Okay, so we just need to pass the name of the response file for it to work. So we're gonna start our server. So we're gonna do. Well, sorry, give me a second. So Friday we learned that there is a cleanup function that we could call for our test. So we're just going to be reusing that here. Okay, so here we just need to do ts test. We only need a client. Yeah, so we could just use a client here. So we're going to just create a test client use for an util package. Let's see if we can find it. Nope. Util that test client. Okay, so here we only need to pass our test and then the path to it. So I think it's emotes response double quotes. I think it's emotes response. So we're gonna be using that for our tests. Cool. And it returns only once. Oh, it's using the wrong one. So that's kind of another thing we need to be mindful, is that there is two of them. Maybe we should give them a better name, but that's kind of too late now. Okay, so we have emotes. We could close this one. All right. I'm missing an S. Okay, so now that we have the client, we can start making requests to it. So the way it looks like, our client is just takes a slice of strings, and then we can use that slice of string to make requests to get the emotes themselves. So we just need to go back to our test. So we're gonna go back to our test utility. Wait, is our test utility? Oh yeah, sorry. We're gonna go back to our response, emotes response, and we just need to make sure that the emote ID is the right one. I also messed up. I misspelled the response file name. Okay, so here we are gonna do client that get by ID. And since it's a slice of strings, we have to make that into a slice of strings. Cool. So I want to make sure that the name of the file is correct. Yeah. So, oops, we could try and see if it works correctly. Okay. So next, let's get rid of this here. And let's get rid of this here. For some reason it's complaining. Why is it complaining? So it's complaining that client that test. That is kind of weird because it should be there. Maybe the name is not right. Oh, I know why. So we need to do something like the emotes, and then that would do it. Okay. We could save this and see what happens when we run the test. For now, I'm not going to worry about the coverage. Let's see. Oh. There is a... How did I get around it last time? Oh, I know how. So because we are reusing some of the structures, we need to make sure that some of the logic that we're using doesn't depend on each other. So that was what happened. So this is just what we're getting here from the Go compiler is that this is a circular dependency because utilities depends on Twitch emotes, and that's kind of creating a circular dependency. The way to get around it is by making the test its own package. Okay, so that did it for us. And then this returns a list of emotes and then an error. And then if we have an error, we want to make sure that we just throw a fatal here saying failed emotes with, and then we just print the error. We could just run it again. Emotes is not used, so we could just print it and see how it looks. Again, we just want to write a test for this to make sure that in the future we don't break it when we're making changes. Okay, so we have it's a list of emotes, so we have multiple ones, so we just cool. Then here we could just start testing different parts of it. So emotes, we could first check the length. So we're gonna check the length, check that it's greater than 1. Sorry, it's greater than 0. So emotes length greater than 0. So we just want to make sure that we don't, if there is nothing there, sorry, if it's, this is wrong. If it's equal to 0, we just want to throw an error saying, saying that the expected size doesn't match. And then we're gonna say the length that we got, just so we make sure that we have the right length. Okay, so we have the right length. So we're gonna do length here again. So now we have the length, and then we could use the length to make sure that it works correctly. Then we could use that to check if things are working. If they're not working, we could go back and we could make sure that, yeah, we could just go back and check if we broke it somewhere. I need a minute. Okay, so now that we have that, we are gonna do here we are gonna just check what we want. So so we get a bunch of things from here. We get the code, so I'm gonna say code equals our code, so this code here, and then I want to make sure that the ID also matches, so we're gonna check that next. So here we could just go if one code is not equal to emotes, so we only have one right now, so we're gonna do 0, and we're gonna do code. So if the code doesn't match, we're gonna return an error. So emo code do not match. And then here we could do want. So what we want, and then what we got. Hey Frank, how's it going? We're still writing tests to make sure that we have we're ready to open source this project. But I'm just continuing what I'm doing from before. Oops, I want code here. So I'm just finalizing those tests that I was writing on Friday. Oh, is it messed up? No, the camera is supposed to be like higher, like it's supposed to be 30. Is it lagging? Is it only the camera, or is it also the audio? I could turn it off and oops. Wait, I'm not even showing my code. Is this better? Oh, okay. No, the camera is supposed to be, so I'm using a Logitech camera right now. It's supposed to be 30. It's supposed to be 30 FPS. Yeah, so I thought I was showing my code. I was not paying attention to what I had on the screen. But yeah, the code itself, sorry, the camera itself, the webcam itself is supposed to be, give me a second. Cool. The camera itself is supposed to be 1080p, and then the FPS is supposed to be 30. That's kind of what I'm using. Yeah. Let me know if it's lagging, because it's not supposed to be lagging. Yeah, I'm not sure why if it was lagging like so bad. I'm not sure why it was doing that. So I might go back and review the the stream and see if what weird thing it was doing. Cool. I'm glad. Let me know if it gets weirder. So again, I'm just writing tests for what we were doing on Friday, making sure that we have all the necessary tests, and then just going through this whole thing where we are testing that third-party emo service. Emo ID, not the code here. I'm still deciding what will be the first thing I will improve in the stream. Like, should I improve the microphone or should I improve like the webcam / don't use a webcam and start using like a mirrorless camera or something like that? Okay, so I think our, oops, I don't know why this is freaking out for some reason, I'm not sure why. Okay, so I think we could just run our test and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of one of the issues we're having. It's an ID, so it's an integer, so this has to be an integer. And then we just have to go back and change some of our code here to match that. Okay, so that's they're passing now. We just need to make sure that we just have to go over the coverage now. Cool. So we are at 80%, and then we could just open the tool again to show us which code needs to be covered. So we're gonna use this one. Then I'm gonna have to make sure that I have this selected. Okay, so we just need to test some errors here. I think I will test like if two things. We could test if we get invalid JSON, or if we get an invalid code. So let's do an invalid code. Let's return a 404 if the code that we're getting doesn't match the code that we're expecting, which is inside of our JSON. So that will help some of the testing here. But first, I think we need to make some changes to our test client. So our test client is not checking Go params, so we just have to check we just need to check the params themselves, the query params. So we are gonna go here and check how to get the query params. Okay, so we can use the request object, struct argument that we're getting from the request, then check the URL and then the query params, and then we just look at the different ones. Okay, so we are going to check that inside our test code here, and we could just do, just for now, we could just pass it in. So we're going to do expect the query params, and we are going to make it a map. Because the way it works is that we get the query params as a map. Then we can check if it's present. Oh wait, I didn't know this, but it makes it into a slice, so that might be easier. So we could just do a slice of strings. And then we can just look through them and check if they're matches. Okay, so here we are going to check our query params before we do this. So we do params equals request dot URI, and then in here we have the query params. So we could do query params. Yeah, query params. And then instead of accessing it how they're doing it here, we could just use the get function. So we could do emote IDs, and then we could do something like, I wonder why they're not accessing it directly. So query params dot get, and then we could do what? Let's see what they're returning. I need to close this. So is okay. I think I got it. So it's just called ID. ID, and then let's just print this so we know how it looks like. So we know how to parse it. We're gonna just go print it, see how it looks, and then run it again. Oops. Oh, I need to fix that test. So let's fix that test. And here it just takes a slice of string, and we're gonna pass this back in here. Maybe the better way to do it is just to have it. We could have it here. We could have it defined on top. IDs, and then we could just, yeah, let's do that. String and IDs. Cool. And here we could just pass IDs too. So we pass the same IDs to both places. And then we could try running our test again. And now I wonder if we add multiple IDs. So okay, so we're gonna have to break it up ourselves. So that's kind of why, maybe that is the reason why they just went something like this. Okay, so this one parses it for us directly. So we could probably use this. Let's do okay. And if it's okay, it's not okay, we are gonna say missing query params. So fatal, missing ID query param. Cool. And then here we could just say, we could just loop through all of them. And so we're gonna loop through. Yeah, we're gonna have to loop through all of them and make sure that the ones that we're getting and the ones, if it's present, yeah, if it's present, we don't do anything. If it's not present, we just fail the test. So it's gonna be 2 for loops inside of it. So we have to go through the first list first, and then we go to our list first, the one that is being passed on the top, so they expect it. So we're gonna do expect it. We're gonna loop through it once, and then here we are gonna go and yeah, so we're gonna go from here, and then so that this is the expected ID. And then we could do found, which is false. We're gonna say if we don't find it, then we're gonna throw an error. And then for the next one is what we got. The IDs that we got. So here we're gonna do range emote IDs. Again, this is mostly for testing because we want to make sure that we're passing the right information to our mock server. So our mock server is checking that we're passing the right information to it. And then here, if got ID equals expected ID. I am, yeah. So I'm using ACP test down here. So I'm just creating a mux. So I'm creating the router for it. So the router for it is being created. So it's being created here. And then it's being passed to ACP test. So that's kind of what I'm using for my testing. And then, so it's mostly like, yeah, so I'm using it. The endpoint itself is the one that is doing all the validation of the data. And if we don't find it, we throw an error saying that we didn't find it. And then we're gonna do that B. Well, it's ID, so we have the IDs. And then here we're gonna do just expected ID. And fatal might be the case here. No, let's just keep error. Let's see what this is. Oh, it's a string, not an integer. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that makes sense, right? It's because we have a 2 and there's nothing else. But the first one should have match. So let's see what we're doing wrong here. Wait, where am I? Oh. Okay, and that passes. The reason it was failing before was because I didn't save it. But yeah, this is everything. Most of it is built on top of ATP test, which is one of the standard packages in the Go library. The only thing that is not built on top of ATP test is the chat server for the Mac chat server, just because the issue that happens there is that we are just doing it's just a TCP connection that we need to open. So I just ended up kind of building my own ACP server, but for the Twitch client to emulate the Twitch server. Okay, so that there is doing it. Maybe the next thing, instead of returning a error, we should just return a not found. Yeah, let's do that. So let's just go back to our Twitch Mac server, and then here we're doing HTTP code. We need to get rid of that here. So we're just gonna use this one here. Instead of returning not found, a error here, we are just gonna print back. We're gonna return, and we're gonna return a not found. Not found error. So we could use that as part of the testing too. Oops. Yeah, so not found. So that means that we never found it. The query parameter that we found doesn't match what we're expecting. So that's kind of what we're gonna do there. Then we could go here. So this should still be passing. right? Still passing. And so the goal will be to go back to our. Okay, so this is not found, which is fine. Then we go back to our test. We're gonna create a new test here. We only need this part here, so we are gonna make our test. We're gonna just make it return not found. And we're expecting an error, so we don't need to check this here. Oops. And we expect this to be an error, so we could just check here. And we are just gonna check what the error is. Let's just comment this out for now. Okay, and we're gonna run this. So error is not null. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make two of this. We are gonna mess this one up a bit. And we're gonna put the real one in here. We're gonna put the real one in here. So what we're doing now is we're gonna pass Mac data in here. Yeah, so we're gonna pass Mac data. So the real one is being passed to the real ID is being passed to the client, and then the fake ID is being passed to our wrapper function. And so it should trigger an error here. Yeah, so that's kind of what we want. So we're expecting an error, just to make sure that we're handling errors correctly. And we could do here something like expect an error. Yeah, so now we are saying we were expecting an error, and since we didn't get one, it's just gonna so it's gonna fail if we didn't expect one. Okay, so let's just check how far. What else can we test? So we're testing this one here. This one's pretty hard to test because you have to let the connection hang. This one here, you have to kind of mess up the URL to make that one fail. The other one we could probably test is if we pass invalid JSON. So that could be the easiest one to test. So we could try that one now. So to do that, we are going to create a invalid response JSON, and invalid JSON will be something like testing, and then we do something like this. So the reason why this is invalid is because we're missing a double quote here. So that should break the parser. So we are going back here, and the next test we need to write is just one that just breaks that. And we could break that by just gonna copy this again and then call it invalid response. And here we are going to change this to invalid response. So I'm going to just write them all down first. I'm going to write all the test cases and then see if I could turn this into a one function that has like table driven testing. It uses it. And here we just need to make sure the IDs are the same. So we are going to go here and just make sure that we have the same IDs, because we don't want it to just fail on our Mac server. We want it to fail if the response is not valid. So we're going to use that to do that for us. So IDs. So I'm going to run it. Okay. So it passes because we're expecting an error here. Cool. I think we could turn this into a table-driven test because the only thing that we're making sure is we need to change is the file. Sorry, the IDs that we're expecting. The IDs that we're going to be querying, the ID that we're expecting, and then the file name, and then if we're expecting an error or not. So we could try that out. The goal will be to take these three tests that we have and just turn them into one function. So I'm gonna call it test emotes, t, and then here I'm gonna do test emotes, guy. And I always forget how the syntax looks like because it's a bit weird looking when you define the structuring line. So I'm just gonna look here. See if we have any. Nope, we don't have any here. I think this one does. Yeah, our scanner does have some. Okay, so this is how it looks. So we wanted this one, then we're gonna put it here. Our structure is gonna be file name, which is a string, then expected IDs, which is a string, a slice of strings, and then query IDs, which is also the same. Then we have if we have an error, so this is going to be expected expected error, which is just errors. Oh, which is just error. I think that's it. Oh, I don't need the quotes. Sorry, the commas themselves. I don't need that. Then we have a struct, and then we can start adding values to these structs. So the first one that I'm gonna do is the one below. So we expect this to be the file name. So the file name is invalid response. And then we expect this ID. We are gonna create this ID, and we expect the error not to be null. So how do we represent that? Expect the error. Since we don't know which error we're gonna get, there's not a structure that we can compare against. So maybe I'm gonna change this to expect one error, and it's gonna be a boolean. So if it's true, then it's gonna check if there's an error. So I'm gonna do true here, and then I'm gonna close that there. I think I missed one. Yep. So here, then we're gonna do that. Cool. So now we have our tests inside of a table. So we're gonna use table driven. So from here, we could start using we could get rid of this function here because this is the first one we're gonna make. So we're gonna make this first. Sorry, we're gonna get rid of that test case here because we don't need it anymore. So we're gonna get rid of that. And then inside of our for loop, we are gonna do tests that expected. So this is the ID that we're expecting inside of our server. And then we are gonna do t dot file name, and in here we're gonna do wait, it's not t, it's test. So we're gonna do here is we're gonna do test that query ID. So this is the ID that we're querying for. And then here we are gonna do test equals one error, and then we're just gonna do this here. And what did I do here? Okay. See if this works. So what we did is we tried to turn it into a table-driven test. Let's see. Oh, I might have. Yeah, I missed. So the testing.t needs to be a pointer. So that's what I missed. Wait, I did that. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is we need to wrap this. So I'm going to use the file names as we're going to use run, which is one of the new methods for running tests. So I'm going to use the file name as the name of the test. So we're going to do file name, and then we're going to create a function, and this function takes a t struct as an argument, and then we're going to use that argument as far as us running our test. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Okay, and now we can just start moving some of our tests. So the next one is not found. So this one is going to be a bit different because we are going to pass the real file name. So we're going to pass this file name here. Then we are going to pass what we expect. In both cases, it's going to be the same ID. So this one is going to be here. This one is going to be here. Wait, no, this is not found. So it's going to be a bit different. Yeah. So we're going to make this a bit different. And we have a bit of information here. So, okay. So here we have. Okay, and then we're expecting an error. And then call it like that. And that means that now we could also get rid of this function here. And see if that worked. Cool, so that worked too. And well, I don't think I could use the file names because there are still them that are gonna have the file name. So I'm just gonna create a new type here, and just call it name. And I'm gonna call it invalid JSON. Then call this one not found. And then we're gonna change the name to we're gonna change from using file name to using just name. Okay, and then for this one, we have to add more information to our test cases. So we are gonna take this here. So this one's gonna be a bit more complex. Because this one has more, we need to check a lot of more things, so it's gonna be more complex. So that's kind of why I left it for last. So for this one, we have emote response, which is a file name, and then for in this case, everything here the user ID is gonna be the same. Sorry, the emotes ID is gonna be the same. So emotes here. Okay, so we have emotes, and then we are not expecting an error. So here we are going to do say false. Let's see. What did I mess up? Oh, I missed the file. The name. Okay, so the name is that's what I want to call it. Then here we are gonna do this here. We're gonna call this emotes. And then here we are gonna do we're saying that if error is false, then we do all of this logic here. The only issue is that we have a bit of hard-coded data that we're gonna have to create a structure for it. So we're gonna create another structure that handles that. It will be, I'm gonna call it one emotes, which is gonna be an array. And we're gonna create a struct, and then that struct is gonna have an ID, which is a string, and then it's gonna have a code, which is also a string. It's not a string, sorry, it's an integer. And then we have to go back and just update this to be since I'm inlining it, can I wouldn't work. I might have to declare on tab, so because it doesn't have a name, so since this doesn't have a name, I cannot reuse it. So I'm gonna just do an inline struct. So I'm gonna call it emotes or emo, and then inside I'm gonna just have ID string, sorry, int, and then the code is gonna be string. And then I could just change this to a emote, an array or emote, and then I could just reuse it here. So it's kind of I had to, instead of doing it inline, I had to do it above because I had to reuse it over and over again. If I wanted to, I could just take it out and declare at the top of the file. So this might look better. And now I have to go to all our test data and just make sure that we have that information there. Except for this one, which is going to have a bit of extra information in it. So this one is, we have one emote in here that has an ID of, so we could go back down here and just like copy some information. So we have an ID here. Let's see. And since we have the ID, we can now copy the code itself. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, so now we have a array of emote that has all the information that we need. And then here, the way that it works is that we're just gonna loop through it. So we are gonna loop through the ones that we got. So so we need a key, the index here in this case, and then the value. And then we're gonna range through test that emo or emo wanted, and then we're gonna just here, and then here we're gonna do the index. So index here and index here. And in this case, we are gonna just check the length of both. So we're gonna do if the expected emotes array is not the same, then we throw an error. In this case, we're gonna say to be equal. So we're checking that is equal, And then here we are just going to change this to val.code. So we want to make sure the code mix is the same, and we want to check the value is the same. The ID is the same. Okay, so then we're going to run it again. So complain that I is not being used. What it is? Emos. So 88. Oh, it's because I didn't get rid of this. Then back to 2. 2. Oh, 82. Oh, that's gone. Okay, and now it's passing. So we ended up just turning all of our functions into one function that handles like multiple cases, right? So that means that if you have multiple emotes here, we will be able to handle those different cases here. So let's say that we got, instead of 1, we had 2 from a response file, we are able to handle that too. So that's kind of one of the cool things about table-driven testing, is that you are able to handle those cases. So we could just go here and double check. Oops. Yeah. So now we don't have to test that if the user passes an invalid URL. So okay, the next one we need. So I think that is it for that test. So we could go back to our client. Yeah, we're gonna go back to our client, our chat client, and here we are gonna check what we were trying to test for. I think the thing that we were so what we were trying to do was a way for us to test. Let's use this one. Here we were trying to test a way for us to test. Sorry, find a way for us to be able to test the way to get emotes. Oh, that's weird. So we might have a failing test here from one of our past changes. So okay, so let's fix that. I don't think we need this extra window here. Okay, so oh, did I mess up? Oh yeah, I was showing how it will break if the response changed. So I was doing something weird. So what did I change? So let's look at the test. So which test is that? So it says lines 96. Okay, so this is the one that's failing. Oh, I didn't change the URL, so that is on me. I just copy and paste it, and then went back and fixed what they were expecting. So that's kind of the issue too. It's like the message is being misleading just because I didn't fix it. Yeah, so the message is being misleading. So I just have to fix this. Okay, so we are gonna fix these messages, and then we can see what the real issue is. So I have 4, and it's supposed to be at 3. So, oh, I see. It's because the way that leveling works in the for the badges is that 4 just means 3 in the size, so it's not really 3. I put a 3 there. Sorry, 4. It's supposed to be only 3. But the name is kind of off. So. What else did I mess up? Yeah, I think this response is a bit messed up. So let's see. Let's see, Python. So I'm just gonna pipe the result. I want to see how the test channel response look like. I'm just gonna pipe. Oops, I piped it too much. Test channel, and then just okay. So we only care about the first one. So what is going on? So that looks right. So for instance, our test is adding an extra. So when we run our test, we are getting. What is the difference between? I might have messed up the endpoints. So let's just copy this one, and then replace it here. Oh, yeah. So there's a space at the beginning. So we have a space here, and that's why it's failing. That's kind of why it's just not working at all. Okay, so that is fixed. Okay, so the thing that we need to do now is test our badges. So we didn't have any test for, sorry, emotes. So if you have a message that has emotes, we have no way to test it. So we are adding that now. So let's see. And the way that emotes are returned are part of the message itself. So it will have a URL inside of it. So that's kind of how we know it's gonna, if it works or not. Yeah, so the message itself will have the URL in there. So if it doesn't match, that's how we know it's not working correctly. And we just need to make sure here. So we have the URL hard-coded here. So we just have to make sure that we could pass that URL. So I'm just gonna add it here. I'm gonna add it to our config file. Our config file has a bunch of URLs already, so I'm just gonna add the emo URL there. So do we have one for badges? No, so the badges are also hard-coded. So we are gonna do here is emo API. We're gonna do emo, and I'm just gonna create a new structure. We don't even have, it doesn't have to be there. Let's just put it here. Twitch emo. And then here we're gonna do emo. So we're just declaring how it's gonna be represented inside of the JSON structure for our configuration. So we're using JSON for our configuration. So then here we are gonna do just API, and it's just gonna be string. Let's just call it URL JSON URL, and that's kind of where we're gonna keep our emotes API inside of. Okay, so that is there, and then here we are going to change this to use our new configuration flag. So conf that Twitch that emo.url, which has our new URL in here. And this is throwing an error because the F is capitalized, so we just need to get rid of that. Okay, so we get rid of that. Cool. So now what we need to do we pass a client to it? So the way that our Mac server works for emotes, for the emotes API, is that it returns a client. So yeah, so it returns a client. So it returns the API. So I wonder if instead of doing all of this that we're doing, is we should just take this here and just create a new struct. So we should create a config struct. How we did before. So we did this where we did. Oh, we did this for our Twitch configuration. So we're gonna create a new file, and just keep the Twitch our client configuration in there. So this will help us pass. So instead of passing all these arguments to our new function, we just create a struct that handles all that for us, and then we just have to pass that one struct into our new function, and then when we pass that information, we could check if it's new or not. Okay, so I want to make some changes here. So I just need to might not want to pass the whole configuration object here. So I just need to find some places that are using this. I think there's only one place using it. Yeah, I think that's the only place using it. Oh, there's multiple places. Because we need our token. No, I think we should leave it then. Okay. So here we are gonna do. We are gonna take this configuration here. Then we are gonna take a Twitch client. Or I'm just gonna change this to Twitch API. And then we're gonna take all the badges. And we are gonna take a Twitch emote API or Twitch emote. And then here we are gonna just take our new package, and we're gonna just do that. It's supposed to be lowercase. Okay, so it's lowercase. Let's save it. Okay, I think it's this one. Nope. Okay, which one was it? So we want that package. Okay, so now we have all that configuration that we need here, and then we're gonna change how this is gonna say conf, and it's gonna be just be config. So we are just gonna pass that as it is, and then here we remove that. We don't need that. We don't need to do error validation here. We're expecting our tab. Let's just change this to a different name. So we're gonna leave it as is. Okay, so we're gonna do conf. So that's gonna hold our configuration for our application. And then, oops, defreeze. Yeah, we missed this here. We are gonna then do conf that emote. Let's just change this to emotes. Okay, and then here we are gonna change this to conf that Twitch API, and then we have now a conf that patch. Okay, so that means that anytime that someone is starting our calling our code to start our client, they just have to pass the configuration, a configuration structure, a pointer of it. So the first thing we need to check here is that if the pointer is null, so if conf is equal to null, we always want to make sure that someone passes this, so we should return an error here. So we're gonna say return nil, then we're gonna print so we were just saying that it can have a nil. So if it's empty, it's gonna return an error saying you're passing a empty pointer here. You shouldn't be doing that. And the next thing is, which we have to do is, we need to make sure that conf validates itself. So it's going to validate itself. So what we're doing here is that we are going to add a method to our configuration structure that is going to check if it's all the necessary values are there. If they're not, it's going to return an error. So here we're going to create a new method. So we're going to call it validation or validate. It's going to return an error. So the goal of this function is just to go through it, check what we need to see, make sure that it's valid. So the thing that we need to make sure that it's valid is that we need to make sure. Well, there's a couple things here that. Oh, I might have to spell it out. It might be easier. Yeah, it might be easier for me to spell it out instead of taking the config from our application. We should just spell it out. So we need the auth, which is a string. We need the name, which is a string. We need the channel, which is also a string. So we don't need this here. Okay, so we are changing this more to not depend on the conf itself. So we are gonna save our own. So we're saving our own instead of using the main server one. We're gonna just use ours, because the issue that we want to prevent here is that we need that information to authenticate, right? So since we need that information to authenticate, we just want to make sure that we have it on hand. So let's see which ones are missing. Okay, we need the URL. Maybe I'm still debating if we should do this, because then yeah, it feels like we're duplicating the code. So maybe not. Let's just change it how it was. And we could just let okay. This is gonna be a bit of a crazy idea, but it might work. How would that work? We could make this structure the same as our configuration file. So we have our config here. So we have this information here, right? We could move this information. Would it be a circular dependency? It might end up being a circular dependency, but we could try it. So we could end up with something like this, which we have everything there. And then we don't need this one here, right? And we go back here and now do something like that. We do irc.conf. Yeah, so now we could do something like that, right? Where the validation, well, not the validation, the structure itself comes from there. And then if we go back here, yeah, and we could just make this one not show up. So let's just learn how to do that. I keep forgetting how to do that. So JSON. So I just want to omit those fields because we're not going to use them. We don't want empty. Let's see. I think it's underscore. Yeah, score. So if you do something like JSON, wait, do I need to do anything else? Yeah, this is wrong. So if you do this, it was just gonna ignore it. Because these ones are gonna be added as we go from the client itself, so we can just ignore it. Same one with this one, because we don't have a giant JSON blob that has that. Okay, that looks a lot better. So that means that our configuration file here is just depending on our configuration back here. And then here, we are just going to run a validation. So let's go back here. Oops. We are going to go back here. Oh, we don't need that. We are making changes to conf. And we are also making changes to our rc.go. Okay. For now, we are going to return nil because we haven't checked any errors here. And I guess we need to go back on this one. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back. So it's conf. And here we are changing this back. So the change that I was making, we are gonna just change it back to the ones we have. Oops. Conf. Okay, and then we're gonna go back here. And we are gonna get rid of these things here. So instead we need to do URL. And I think we could just go. Okay, and same thing here. We're just gonna remove the extra syntax. We don't need anymore, like the extra structures that we need anymore. There might be one more. Nope. Okay, so that looks cleaner now. Okay, from here, for our validation, we need to make sure. So here's the things that we need. We need the auth, we need the name, and the channel. So the name is the nickname of the account that's gonna be joining. So we kind of need that, and then we need our channel. Okay, so I think kind of the only thing that we don't really need from here for it to not break is the badges. So everything else we need. So we are just gonna do if c that of is equal to empty string. And we can just do a function here that is gonna wrap the error messaging. So here is just gonna go format error. And then I think, yeah, it's gonna make it easier. So this is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna make a function. Sorry, yeah, we're gonna make a function that takes a field name, and then it takes the value. In this case, it's gonna be strings, and then it returns an error. We're gonna do if value equals this, then we're gonna return. Here we're gonna return nil because there's no error, and then here we're gonna return that error, and we're gonna do field name. we're gonna do conf. And then we're gonna do the field. Field. Oops. Field cannot be empty. And then here we are just gonna return the field name. Okay. Cool. And so when I check multiple fields, so it will be something like error and then format field. So here it's gonna be off and then see that off, and we're gonna return error if error not equal nil. Okay, so that's gonna be our parsing. Then we just take this and just do it for the URL and then do it for the name and the channel. So this is gonna be helpful if in case we have to change the error messaging later on. But we're making sure that we have the valid URL as we go. Okay, so we have that. Then the name. I want to rename name to something else, but for now it's gonna stick name. And then channel. And the last one that we want to check for is okay, I think we did all of them. Wait, no, we're missing two. We're missing the API. So those are pointers. So and same setup. Field. And then here, the only difference is that we're gonna take a struct. So sorry, we're gonna take an empty interface because we don't know what it is. And my autocomplete just went off. We're gonna do format again because we messed it up. Field name string. Then we're gonna do value and then interface, which is an empty interface. Then return error. And here we just need to check if value is equal nil. We're gonna return nil here because there's no error. So here we are just gonna return an error saying same way as before. We could probably just copy this error here. Yeah, so the only difference here is just a check. One is checking for pointer, a pointer, and the other one is checking for empty string. Okay, and then the last ones we need to check for are the last two. So we need to check for the Twitch API, and we need to check for. So we could copy this again, but this one's gonna be different. That instead of checking for a string error, for checking that the string is not empty, it's gonna check for that the pointer is not empty. And we want to check Twitch API. And this is mostly for us to make sure that we are getting the right information when our function gets called. Where our new function gets called, we want to make sure that the information is being passed to it is correct and it's not missing information. Because then our chat server, our chat client wouldn't work correctly. Okay, so we did that. So we could run our test and see how it goes. Let's see. Oh, there's a circular dependency. So where is it? This is not needed anymore. So there's a couple more that we have to fix. So the test ones are doing the same, so we're gonna have to change that. So test. We just need to change this up using that and use something like our config. And that will make it happier. This is too deep, so we take that one off. And then we take this one off too. And we don't need this anymore. And here we are only passing. Oops. Okay, so this is kind of where it becomes interesting. So we could take this here, bring it down here, and now we're gonna do Twitch API, and then here we're gonna pass the API, and then here I'm gonna just pass null, and here we're gonna pass our badges. So let's be badges. I may have missed something. Okay. We need our auth token, so we need to do I think it was like random or client test client. And here we have to pass the URL. Oh, it's forcing me to do. It's forcing me to do the full names because I started using full names anyway, so I should stick with it. Then we need the name. And then we need a channel. Then we need a Twitch API. And then we're gonna do Twitch emotes. It's nil. Then we need the badges. The funny thing now is that this logic should fail. Since we don't have all the information that we need. Where am I? This one. Since we don't have all the information that we need to pass to our test, it's just gonna fail. Wait, it passed. Shouldn't pass. Oh, that's weird. So there is a issue with how our tests are working. Okay, so what is the issue? Okay, so I think our validation is not working correctly because the issue have returned. We have a nil for one of the APIs. So let's see. this should be nil here. So let's see. So this should be nil, and it shouldn't be returning anything. We should be failing here. So all our tests, with the changes that we did, all our tests should be failing. Let's see. So I should also remove that here, but let me figure out why. Is this being called at all? It's not being called at all. Let's just close everything and make sure that it's safe. Okay. So for sure, this should be failing here because we are calling conf.validate. And we are passing null for the API. So let's see what this is. We're gonna use print just to print all the way. So here, and then we are gonna print the value of that Twitch emotes because it's supposed to be nil. So okay, so it's there. Is it? That's weird. So did I mess up my Twitch emotes? So okay, so it's going here, and then it's returning. So we're passing value to it. Maybe it's not nil. Maybe it's because I'm passing as a structure, it's doing something else. So let's just take this off. It's back. New line. So, and let's get rid of this one here. So it confuses us. So it is nil. But I guess this is not being handled correctly. So when I run it here, it doesn't look right. No, it does look right. So I wonder if I'm in here. And I have too many here's. Oh, testing. Let's see. Did I do not equal? Nope. Right. Okay. So I let me get rid of some of these here's because there's so many of them. I have a lot of them. I should just get rid of them. I have too many of them, so I have this one here. I have this one here. Yeah, let's just get rid of some of those. Oh. I'm gonna get rid of this one first. Okay, so we don't need this one. And we are gonna just keep looking for here. Oops, that is too much. Let's run it again. And I think it's this one here, triggering. get rid of that one. Now we have less, so we could just figure out the one that was failing. So this is not working here. So let's see. Oh, so I have to use reflect. The issue is because I'm not looking inside of the interface. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pair of values. So you have the type and then the value. I don't know the type, so I cannot do type assertion. The other one is to use reflect. So reflect is this Go package, part of the standard library that lets you figure out the types of an NT interface inside of during runtime. The only issue is that it happens at runtime, and there's a bunch of issues with it that comes with like checking things on runtime. Because ideally, you want the compiler to do all the work. In this case, I'm using an interface, so I'm kind of already violating the law. So there's like a bunch of rules of when you should use it and when not to use it. So in this case, I have to change this to something like and for context, the issue here for context is that a interface has two where is it? The issue here is because I don't know the type of the value. I have to use reflect, which is an internal library that is used for finding out different types. The issue why I'm getting this is my test, the test I had here was not working correctly. It's because you get two inputs. Sorry, when you do, so value here is a empty interface, so it has two values inside of it. It has a type and then the value. So the way to check is if I do if I get the value of the interface, and then when I get the value of the interface, I could check if it's null. So that's kind of the way that I will have to do it here. And that's why it was not triggering before. So that's why it didn't work. Okay, so now it's working correctly. So that's why now all the tests are failing. Okay, so cool. Using reflect helped us here. Now what we need to do is also create a Mac server here for our testing. So here it will be a bit different. We are gonna just do that one's getting the test server. Just gonna do down here. So here we are gonna create a new Mac server for our emotes. So we are gonna go back to each emotes. So we're gonna be creating a Mac server just by using this information here. And then we just wanna pass inside information to it. So we're gonna do, let's see. I'm just gonna take this util. So let's see, emo API and Mac API. Okay, so here we are gonna just use our util that we created for getting access to the Mac server. We need to pass here our test instance, then the path, which is we're gonna call it emote response, which is the file that has our response inside of it. So I'm gonna copy that over. And then here we have what we expect. So let's just make sure we get right one. So we could get that from our test data. So we could do emotes test. And I'm just gonna take this one here. So that's what we're expecting. Cool. So hopefully it gets the right util. Too many arguments. So you might have gotten the wrong one. So let's see. Yeah, I got the Twitch one. So we want the emotes one. The issue is that they have the same signature, kind of. And I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna call it emotes util. And then it's gonna complain. I most likely didn't import it correctly, so let's just go here and just take this one. The issue is like the signatures are almost the same, and it's refusing to import it correctly by itself, so I have to manually import it. And then it's gonna try to get off because we're not using it yet. So I have to use it here. So I have a package that removes unused utils, and that's kind of what happened there. Okay, so we have our Mac server and client, so we can pass that here. So this should work correctly now. The only thing we need to do is just copy over some of the data. We need to copy our test data because we don't have it here, so we're gonna copy it here. And then we can just run the test and see what happens. Okay, so our tests are passing again. So we're passing again here. I might want to remove those messages, and this error here is fine, so I should probably have to figure out how to handle it too. That's good. So we have to handle those. Also, maybe the order of me turning things off. Let's see, where's our helper function? Yeah, so let's find here. That's not one. I think it's in here. Yeah, so we want to shut. Oh, we're doing it already, shutting down our client, then shutting down the server. That is weird. So we just have to figure out how to handle those things. Okay, so our tests are passing. The only thing we need to do now is add the emotes here. I thought I had one, so we just need to add a sample one. Test badges. I'm just gonna copy this one over. I'm gonna copy this test over. And then yeah, we're gonna copy this over. We are gonna then add our emotes to it. Here we are gonna do, let's see. So our emote has, this is the code for it, and this is the ID for it. So we're gonna take the ID. We are gonna, wait, let's just take the code first. We're gonna take the code first, put it here, put it here. So that means that it's gonna be parsed, and then we have to go to our emotes. Stop jumping too much. Yeah, so we're gonna go to our emotes here, and then we're gonna add it to the ID. Let's just jump. Okay. So here we are gonna add that ID part of it. So we add the ID. There's more extra information that it has, but we kind of don't need that. It tells you where the replacement is gonna happen, like the line number and all those different things. I ended up taking a bit too much here. And gonna be testing emotes. So this shouldn't make a request to the real server. It should just use our fake server, so we could test that out too. So this should fail now because the emotes themselves don't match, because now we have an image tag attached to it. So we have an emotes tag attached to it. So the message is something like this now. Did I extra? So there might be extra space somewhere. Oh, it's in my test information. So when I ended up copying and pasting it, it ended up with extra info. So let's see if that fixes it. It's still failing. Wait, where is our want? Oh. Okay, there we go. Cool. So we know now that it's working correctly. We could mess around with our test data to make sure that our test data is doing what we want. So we could do a number here or a symbol, and then if we run our test again, it should fail. Yep. So that is helping. Wait, I don't want to change that. I want to change this one. Okay, so we're testing our emo parser, so we could just check how much of this is covered now. Okay, so we are at 79 now. So we are gonna open this. Okay, so we added more code, so this is not very well tested. Messages is now very well tested. This is not very well tested, so we have to figure out how to test some more of this code here. I don't think I could test it. I don't want to go through trouble testing the errors and stuff. So maybe I will leave this one at 78 and then just do some validation for our configuration file. So just I don't have to go through the whole like making sure that everything is working correctly there. But we are almost done, which is a good thing. So after this, I'm gonna run the coverage across the board so I can see all the files and their coverage. Something like this. Something like this. So it's gonna run all the tests and the different coverages, and then give me a report of how the coverage across the board is. Yeah, so there are some things that we don't want to write tests for. So so this is a coverage for the whole project itself. So we are hitting the only one that we need to figure out more is like the streaming server, but I'm not sure if I want to make any changes there. And then yeah, we test the parsing here. So we should finish that. Okay, so here we want to just test our validation, so our configuration. So we're gonna do test, create a test file. so we're gonna just test our validation. Just make sure that our configuration file is doing the right validation. So this is the one that we're gonna validate. We want to make sure that this is working correctly. Okay, so we just want to make sure that this function here is working correctly. So we are expecting errors as we go through it, right? So we could call it as many times as we want. So the first one will be if there's no configuration. So if you do, we could do, let's try doing a table test here because it will be a lot easier. So if you do, am I doing a table test here? No. Yeah, I am. Let's see if I can remember this right. Test range. Let's do the struct. And then we're gonna close the struct. And we need one more. Okay, so in here we are gonna do different configuration files. So here we are gonna do conf, and then it's just gonna be a version of this, and then we are going to do want error, which is a boolean. So if there's an error, it's gonna just run it. And then we could do the validation. So we could do fill, the field name, field name is a string. Then we did expected error, which is a string. Okay, so that's kind of what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna create our so we're gonna do something like the field name. So our first test will be to test the validation. Sorry, to test authentication. So authentication, just we're gonna call it off. Then in here we're gonna create a config struct, which is empty. Okay, this is wrong. Do that there. Then we need true, which we're expecting an error. I think all of them will be errors. So here we are just gonna say, we're just gonna copy this here. Oh, maybe we want to want error, and then something like this. I wonder if this will work correctly. And we don't need that. And we don't want this. So cool. And then in here we could just do something like respecting an error. So we should do error. We could do error equals test that validate, and we're gonna call it. Cool. So we have now an error. We expect this to never, if it's null, we're gonna return an error. So if this is error, if it's empty, we're just gonna return fatal. No, this is return error for now. We are gonna say expected error to not be null. No. And then here we are gonna say error that here equals. Let's see if this works. then we're gonna pass one error, and we're gonna pass a field. So I am thinking that it's gonna pass. Okay, so here if the error message doesn't match, we're gonna do error message match. Want. So I guess I should handle the want. So want, which is what we want. We got this error, and then here I'm just gonna call want. We are gonna just move this up and do want. That's not what I want to do. I want back want, and then put it there. Here. Okay, and let's just get that, and then we can run the test again. Okay, so I messed up again. I didn't put it. I didn't do a so the signature has to always the signature always has to be testing.t, which is a pointer. I keep just not declaring as a pointer. Okay. So it fail. Oh, that is interesting. Maybe I just have to declare in here. Ooh, I know what is happening. Let's see if that helps. I don't think it will help because I think the main issue is that we. No, yeah, it might help. Let's see. The spacing is off. Why is the spacing off? So it doesn't match. Error message didn't match. God. I have a space somewhere. Where's my space? Oh, let's make sure that. No, that's right. So when in doubt, I'm just gonna take it and put it into a div tool. I think I might have a space somewhere that it doesn't need it, but oops, click that. That is not what I expected it to do. Oh, this one has a space. Oh. How do I get... Let's return a string. Errors. How do I convert it back to a string? I was doing this before, so oh, let's see. I think I know I have a place where I'm doing that. I think I was doing it for Twitch. No, that looks right. So this is just checking the strings match. For some reason, my strings are not matching. This is not a file that I want. Okay, so for some reason, my strings are not matching. And this is how the errors and cells look like. So doing some weird stuff here. So that is the error, and then I'm turning it back to a string, but I should check the type. I think I could get a type by doing something like error, that error, which returns a string. Oh, it's a string, so why doesn't it match? Let's just wrap it in quotes. Adding quotes to it always helps too. So if you wrap it in single quotes, you could see if there's any extra space going on. And then here, instead of doing printing the error itself, I'm just going to use the same method that I'm using before. It should be the same thing, but just to be safe. Okay, so this is what we're getting. So there's that there. So you just compare it. That is our own, and then there is this here. So I most likely added a space somewhere. They're the same, right? That is interesting. Oh, yeah. I just wasted all the time. It's supposed to be 9 equal 2. Okay, so that did it there, and then we could continue testing the rest. So for the rest, we want to test the URL. So and you just have to make sure that there is an up. Okay, now, and that is 9. So something like that. So that's kind of what we're gonna have to do. As for our tests, we just have to continue adding more and more of those. Okay, so we are getting the tests. Yeah, so we're getting them in here. And to make sure that we are doing the right thing, we are just going to put this inside of a run method. The name is just going to be the field name, so test that field name, and we're going to do func, and in here we take t and then testing.t. We are going to do post that to see. Nice breakdown. So we have of URL, which is now passing. So I'm just gonna do all of the rest. So every new one will have to have the pass to and itself. So this one is name, and in here we are gonna add a URL. So we have that one. Then we have channel. Here we are just gonna add name. Account name. We are just gonna copy this one. And at this point, we're done with. So this one is switch API. Oh, cool. I will take a look at it. I've been trying to avoid like not using anything outside of the sorry, anything. I'm trying to avoid any package that is not part of the standard library. But I might use this one for my for a different project. Like I haven't looked into using anything else for the diffing, just because like I like this standard library so much. But I could look into it. Thank you for suggesting it. Yeah, so the most of the issue that happens is like you end up just kind of struggling through like the diffing. But if you add like different like if you add quotes around it, it might make it easier. That's kind of how I got around it. But yeah, you're definitely right. So if you're kind of not restricting yourself to use the standard library, specify might help. I haven't looked at it before either, so it will be interesting for me to look at it. Okay, so for this one, we have to do Twitch API. Is it a pointer? It is a pointer. So we are going to create a fake pointer to our Twitch API. So it's just creating a fake pointer here. It's still empty struct, but we could get around it by just kind of cheating. And this one is just emotes. Okay. What did I do here? Wonder what I did. So I think I messed up the way I was declaring it. So it is expecting a pointer. I might have messed up something, so. We were having this conversation before at some point. Oops. We were talking about how it's very difficult for one of the moderators is working on JavaScript, but they came from Go, and he was like that he misses Go because of how testing works. Like he was straight up just saying like testing is like it's a lot easier for us to do testing in Go than to do testing in JavaScript, because they have to figure out which package to use. Like you have to depend on like, are you using Jest or are you using something else? Sorry, I am trying to change the settings on my monitor because I just opened a tab and the camera just freaked out. So let's see if I could do that. Okay, let's see if that helps. What did I do we are here. So like here, it's like I could just do. I should be able to just do URL. Oh wait. Ooh, is that why? No, that shouldn't be why. Well, I cannot do the URL. I go to channel. If that helps. Which is a pointer. Yeah, that wouldn't work. Oh. Okay, so this one is spelling. Channel. Oh, did I mess up the naming? Oh, okay, so I missed the channel here. So this one needs to have a channel. Yeah, so this, what I'm trying to do right now is just like go as much into the standard libraries as I can. But yeah, if it was a different language, I probably wouldn't be able to do that at all. So I'm pretty much just using everything in the standard library to be able to do this. Which is why some of the weirdness with like closing tests and things like that, because some of the standard library is not meant to use the way I'm using it. Okay, so we are at, I forgot to do cover. Okay, so we are at 85 here. Okay, so let's just run our test coverage again. And then do tools. So this is all our packages in here. So we are 70, which is this one here. I don't want to mess with this one a lot because I don't want to test this one more because like the only thing I have to test is the errors, and some of the errors are easy to test. Like these ones are easy to test, but there is some of them that are not so easy to test, right? So I have to do some weird error handling into the max error. So I have to. Well, this one is easier to do. That will probably do. I'll probably do this one. So I could close the connection. Oh. Let's do that. Let's close the connection. Let's see. Oh, I should be triggering it. Why am I not triggering it? So oh, okay. Well, there is this one here. Am I closing the dialer? I am closing the connection. But this is a client. Is that a client? No, that's a server. So what I'm looking for now is like there is a few errors that we have when we're running our tests. something like this. Which I have to fix. This might not be it either. So the thing that is happening is we need to handle this, right? The connection is closed because we're reading from a connection that was already closed. So I wonder if there's a way for us to handle that in a nice way. Instead of throwing a giant error, we... Well, it's not even an error, it's mostly a message. Instead of doing that message, we just handle it gracefully. So what we're doing now is just reading for the connection. So maybe an error in here, so if we find it. Nope. So we are going to use double quotes. So that's internal. This is part of the internal package, so I cannot use that. Okay, so we are gonna get handled. We might need to do connection, like handle the if error. Maybe I'm not handling the error correctly. So this is the one that is causing the issue. So we have a read line. Read line? Yeah, so we have this one here. If you... Oh, this is wrong. So that's why we never... Even if you're getting the right message. So the connection was close. Okay. And here, which is just to error. So we want to check 12. Then we could run the test again and see if it does the weirdness again. Okay, so that is better. No, still doing it. So which one is it? Close connection. So they're not handling it differently. So if okay, so they pass the error here. So they get they don't handle the error. They just ignore the error and then just send in different notifications. Wait, but so okay, so they're reading the connection, and if there's an error, this is a reading. Yeah, this is a reader. If there's an error, they just ignore it. Are they watching? Oh, because the next error that they get, so there's only 2 errors that they could get, and that's why they're just throwing the error away. So the only errors, okay. So here they only care about the network errors. So if the type of error that they're getting is a network error, they would just, and is in a abort and then a timeout, they will just completely ignore it. And then if this error, they are gonna just send it to this one function that just completely ignores the error, but it closes the connection, so it closes the context, and then it sends a notification saying that the connection was that it tells the client that the connection is being closed. So maybe I could just do the same. I could just throw the error away. So I'm just checking here what the error is. Okay, I'm just gonna throw it away. Well, the connection is closed, so maybe I should just not throw it away. I should just like return here. The connection is closed, so at that point there's nothing else for me to do. Okay, that made it better. And then we just need to find like all these print statements that we are using, which we don't really need to. I believe they're coming from our Mac server, so. Yeah, we don't need this. Is here. Okay. New client connected. Let's see what that one is. Okay, we don't need that one either. Let's see. That's the wrong one. Don't need that one either. Okay. So I just want to make sure that we're not printing random stuff that we don't need, so we don't mess up our tests. I think that looks good. So if I get rid of the V flag, we should see less. Let's go in here. Wait, we just want to run it here, so let's just run it here. Okay. It's cache, so not gonna see anything else. All right, so we have our. Okay, so that's tested. So most of this is already tested. So let's go back here and make sure that everything else here is tested too. And we're not doing any other weird stuff. Okay, so I need to fix that. Yeah, do I fix that? Oh, this is our event server. So our event server is very noisy. So. Okay, so let's fix that. This. Okay, don't need that either. I just left a bunch of print statements that we don't really need, so I'm just going to take them off. That. We don't need this. We need something. Do we need something here? Nope, I don't think so either. Here. It would be cool to use the logging library, but the standard library doesn't have a really good one. Or I could just learn how to use it, so that could be an option too. so we don't have tests for these two things because I don't think they're ready. So that's okay. We're here. I'm just gonna run this. Okay, we have an error. Let's run that again. Let's make sure it's nothing. Okay, so that was a flaky test. We are gonna keep an eye on that by running it a couple times. Okay, so there's a flaky test. Cool. So we need to fix our configuration file because I changed it a lot. Okay, so we're back to our main. So now we have a config. So we could do rc conf, and this one is Twitch. Sorry, not Twitch. rc.conf, and then in here we are gonna do. Just bring this up. We are gonna break this apart. So I think we could wait. No, we could start building it. Okay. So the cool thing is that our configuration has a copy of most of the things that we need. So okay, so we have that there, and in here we could do conf. The only thing missing is the Twitch client. I often have a package global logger that I set to a dummy logger with. I'm using the standard logger, so I haven't really messed around with the standard one, but it is probably. Oh, so maybe that's kind of what I should do, right? So use the standard one, see how. Oh, you use Lagos. Okay, so yeah. So Frank uses Lagos. Okay, I think I'll probably look into it. See if I could use the standard. Like at some point, I have to stop using all the standard libraries. Like move away from that rule. So I'll probably look at the first one that I might look into is how to use the lagger, because it will be helpful to have it on. Then rc.conf that badges. Yeah, it's super simple. It doesn't really do much. Emotes. Okay, so the only thing we don't have here is the emotes API, so we have to define that. Here we are going to do emotes API, and we're going to do Twitch emotes. And then we're going to do new, and it just takes a URL. So our URL is conf.twitch. See, oh wait, we don't have a URL. Yeah, we do. Okay. And then this returns our. Yeah, so the standard logging package is like super simple. It really doesn't do much. Except that I like using Fatal. And this is wrong. Okay, so we just have to make some changes to our. Oh, it has. Oh, it has to be a pointer. So I'm just gonna make this into a pointer. Oh, I could just do it here. Let's just wait. Okay. So we could try rerunning our test and see what happens here. Okay, so these are all the tests that we're running. We have our event server is doing some weird stuff where we're trying to send an event to a closed instance, so we're gonna have to fix that. Sorry. Okay, so our server is writing to a closed channel, so we just need to figure out how to handle the closed channel and what is triggering that. So let's see where the panic is happening. So the panic is happening here. We just have to figure out why that is happening. We shouldn't be writing to a closed channel. Where is it? It's fine. Oh, it's 110, 104. Sorry. Yeah. So this channel is closed. Let's see. Client disconnect. We need this channel. No. And what is calling this channel? Oh, so the race condition here that we have is that we are announcing that the clients are closing. Then we close all the connections for the clients. We delete it from. Yeah, so we're announcing that we close that channel. And then here, when we're closing our server, when we're disconnecting, we are going and making sure. Yeah, we're making sure that the client is disconnecting and then disconnecting itself from it. So the issue is happening. And the reason it's a race condition is because how the channels are being closed matters. Well, it's kind of, they don't really close the right way. So if there's a client connected and we close the channel, it's gonna trigger. It's like a wild condition that we have here. So we're triggering an event here saying that a client is closing, which is the one that's causing the error. And then we have here, yeah, we're writing to a channel that's closed. So if it's shutting down, we don't have an idea that it's shutting down. So I wonder if there's a way for us to know that the channel is closed. I think last time I checked this, I don't think there was a way to do it. So this is reading. Is that reading? No, it's writing. Yeah, so it's not really an easy way for us to check if the channel is closed from what this looks like. Oh, okay, we do have a way because we're inside of our own method. We could just check if it's running. So it's running. See if it's running. So this one's set to true. And then when we start shutting down, we set it all to false. So if you're shutting down, we don't need to do anything else, right? So that might do it. So since we're shutting down, we could just here check that if we're running. If we're running, that means that we are not closing the channels yet. And that should help, right? Because at that point, it's like, was I able to trigger it? And since this is a race condition, this is gonna be hard for us to trigger. So I'm gonna have to run it like a couple of times and see if I can trigger. Okay, so that is one. So we're right into a closed channel. That one passes, which is why it's a race condition. That one passes. So it's kind of running like every other. So let's see if this helps. Yeah, so the race condition is so when we're shutting down, we're kind of going and triggering, closing all the channels here. So we're closing all the channels that we're so this is our event server. So the one that we're using for sending events over to like sending events over. Ooh, that is weird. Some of the notifications are not working. Wonder why they're not working. But we got a new follower. Platinum, if you're still watching, sorry, I missed it. I noticed that the chat was not working, so I didn't jump in to look into it. But also the notifications were not working. It seemed like it was working, but I was not getting notified for it. Did I mute it? Kind of weird. I don't see the notifications as part of OBS. Sorry about that. Yep. Notifications were turned off all completely, even the chat one. I should go through like a checklist before I start the stream to make sure that it's working correctly. Okay, something I would do for next time. But yeah, we had a new follower. Thank you for the following. If you're still watching. Cool. So it was not a software, it was a user error. This was a user error, it was not a program error. So I had in OBS, I had turned off notifications. And there we go, chat is showing up. Ooh, so I've seen this one being used before. So yeah, I've seen once used before. But here's the thing. For my test, so the reason I think I avoided using once was because you could try to how do you reset once? Like let's say that I start the server, right? I executed once, but then I want to reset it once because the server shut down. So like let's say I stopped the server and then I started it again. So what I'm doing here is for shutdown or close. For shutdown, right? What I'm doing here is that it's only going to, well, again, this is not parallel. This doesn't support running parallel. If it was running parallel, this would be a race condition because I don't have any lags here, right? But the way that the reason why I'm doing this is because you could start. And then reset. Oh, okay. So I would just do that once. So you're saying that I could do. Let's see. So once. So I could do something like this, right? So. Let's see. Where would I put it? Oh, okay. Let me try. I think I have an idea how to do it. So yeah, it might not be useful. Let me see if I could figure out how to do it. So I could probably put it inside of a it might not be useful. Here's why. So the issue that if I use once, right? Once is only for the shutdown because we only want to call it once. Wait, better yet, I wonder if there's any way in the standard anywhere in the standard library that is using it for shutting down a server. So we could look at that. I use the standard library as my source of figuring out how to use certain things because it makes it a lot easier. So this is what I do for caching. Yeah, so like if the standard library doesn't have an sample, it's because I'm probably doing something weird. Okay, so this is swapping once. So they're creating a global variable. Then they're starting the signal, and they're gonna start the signal once. Okay. What we need is somewhere that we see it being done. So this is once again. They're initializing the system once. But the way that they initialize the system is the root here. So it's like a global variable. This one is inside of a structure, which is cool. So they have overcommit, and then they have once, which they're gonna call, and then they do this, and if there's an error, they skip it. This is not the one that we need. So this is the way I was thinking about it, just adding once as a structure to it, and just saying like when this function start, when star gets called once, but the thing is like I have to reset it. So if I call star again, and then I shut it down, I should be able to reset it to where I could call shut down again because the server was started again. Also, if you're watching this and you see something in the like don't see any samples in the standard library and as part of the package, you should also submit a pull request to add the samples because they're very open to adding more samples to the code base. So they're using once here again. We should say value for it, and then so if you call it 100 times, it's not going to calculate it 100 times. It's just going to do it once. Yeah, I don't think I don't think the user case that I want to use it for, because I have to reset it. But my issue is that if I didn't have to reset it, it would work perfectly. This does once. So this is only being called once. This is a humongous parsing function. This is how they parse the system variables. So they only want to do this function once, so they just call it once. Can you send me the link? Let's see. Reset. Oh, this one does it. For the clock. Oh, it recreates it. Once. So it resets the clock. Okay, so we could try that. And the way that they reset it is just by setting once back to nothing. Okay, so we could try that. So I'm gonna create a new one. So once, and then sync. Once. Okay, so then the way it will work is that I will. It is. Oh, here's the issue too. I should just call this one once too. Do I want to do it here too? So here I should just check if he's running. If he does running. So we were running here, so we just return error. So return. Server running. So we just want to make sure there that we don't run twice. Okay, so here we are gonna do. So how do we set up function for once? Yeah, so I think I could use it and just reset it. Oh no! It was right. So that was a bug too. You didn't mess it up. So in this case, if someone calls start twice, we will start the server twice. So you didn't mess up. You kind of helped me find some other weird stuff that I was doing. But for once, so I could do once. Okay. So here we are going to define a new instance of once every single time. So if it's not running, we are going to do e.once, and we are going to do sync once. So that's kind of how we're going to reset it. So that was going to reset it, which is the way that they're doing it for the test here. Okay, and then here we are going to just return, oh, here we just have to return null. Nil. And then here we want this function to only be called once, so I'm going to just turn this into another function, sorry, to a product function, and just create a new one, because I didn't like the name anyways. So I'm going to create a new one and just call it close. So we're going to do e for event, and then we're just going to create one that's just called close. And then we're gonna do e.once do, and then we're gonna do e.shutdown. Yeah, that should do it. Did I mess up? So can I use e.shutdown? Oh wait. Oh, can I call e.shutdown? That's, I have a variable named shutdown, so that makes it even worse. Okay, and then here, this is just gonna call. Okay, that made it better. I have a variable already named shutdown, so this is way better. So we're gonna stop it. So we're gonna call the stop function, which is gonna do all this work. You could only call stop once. And it doesn't return an error, so that's good. And then here, just have to change our test. So also, yeah, it was weird because I even have a comment out inside of our test. So we are removing that. And we're changing this to close, just to match the standard library. Then go test. Yeah, so that helped. So we are now gonna go back to our main. So our main program is doing the same thing. So we have to change that to shutdown. Or is it? I think so. Oh, we're not stopping it, so that's kind of bad. So let's do the and that. Okay, So I think that helped. So if we run this again, run this whole thing again. Yeah, you didn't bring the design. I think you helped a lot. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, so we have everything is passing. So let's open our coverage tool. Okay, so that's 95, 70. I don't think I could get higher without testing a lot of weird edge cases that I am not 100% sure that we need to test. Maybe I could just send some garbage here, but might not be worth it. Then we have this one here. Then we have this one. Very well tested. This one doesn't matter. Okay, I think we're in good shape. The only thing left, which I might just change to using the standard package. Yeah, especially when you have to do like weird things like I have to kill, like to make some of these tests work. I'm sorry, for these errors to be thrown, I have to kill the connection halfway through. And like if I'm doing any parsing where like if I'm doing like HTTP, making HTTP connect call, where can I find one? Oh, there you go. So for example here, I'm not sure how can I make, where is this one? Where is it? Yeah, I'm not sure how I could make the new request error fail. Like I'm not sure 100% sure how would I go out of my way to make this crash. Or I mean to return an error. I could probably look at it, at the testing for it and then try to match it. But is that even worth it? Like I have to go here to the standard library, look at their tests. So even themselves, look, even themselves, they're ignoring the test, the error here. So I will have to figure out a way to like see like, wait, how they are forcing an error. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'll force an error here. Most of the time they just ignore the error, which is fine inside of the testing, but okay, so I want to test as much as I can, but there's no easy way for me to go and trigger the error that I need to trigger, right? It's like, what is this doing to be able to trigger an error? Where is new request? New request. Like the only one that I find very easy to test is JSON.marshall. Sorry, marshall. That's the easiest one for testing. Wait, where did it go? Okay, so it returns this one. Ooh, I could give it an invalid method, but I made sure to give it a valid method, so that would be hard to do. I could give it a new content. Yeah, so that's kind of what they're doing. They're ignoring it from the testing call, which is kind of cool. Then if I pass invalid URL, then it will fail. Maybe that's the way to do it. But then I have another place that is checking that already. Where we are. Yeah, so I have a place already checking if the URL is invalid. So where is it doing it? Yeah, right here. So it will never hit that one. What is the next one? Um, that one's to return error. Yeah, after that point, there's nothing else. So it's kind of checking if there is in. So there's no easy way for me to test that one. So there's no easy way to test this one. This one I have to. Oh wait, for this one I could just run it and just let it time out. At the end, I have to let it time out. So and invalid JSON. Okay, cool. So I think I got sidetracked, but what we need to do now is, so the dilemma that I have now is two things. We go to our mod here. Okay, so the dilemma that I have is I created this package which is half finished. So what it's supposed to do is a set of utilities that I've been trying to kind of always make for a while, which lets me use like ACP servers. The only one I have right now is the ACP client, but the server is kind of done, but not really. So it's done locally, but I'm doing some magic to replace it. Or I could just get rid of. So in the main file is the only place this is being used. So I have server, and then that server is serving two things. So it's serving. Wait, where are we? Okay, so it's just doing this, and then just waiting. It's just like a custom API. So maybe I could just use the local. Yeah, let's do that. Might be easier to just use a standard library for now and just get rid of that dependency. So I'm just gonna use the standard library. Server, listen, and serve. The issue with this one is I have I don't want to use the default one, so I need to figure out how to override it. So let's see. Handler. Let's see what this one does. Okay, so it just takes a handler. So we could just do the same. Let's do that. So we are going to replace our, for now, we are going to probably come back and work on that in the stream. But for now, I'm just going to replace it with this one here. Let's see. I think we just, yeah. So, does it return an error or panic? I think it just listens and then returns an error. Okay, so this will be simple. So we are getting rid of these two lines. We don't need them anymore. And we're gonna do if error. Then we're gonna do HTTP that serve the server listen. No, the other way around. Listen and serve. And it takes an address, so we're gonna listen to everything and every address on port 80. Then we have our which is our handler. Then we do error not equal nil. We do that, and then we're gonna do like that fatal. Okay, I think that might do it. So to test that out, we are gonna close that and hope for the best. And we're gonna go run. Okay, so there's no logs now, so we just need to make sure that some of the things work. So we're gonna go here. We are gonna look at our chat overlay. Okay, so the overlay is working correctly. So yeah. Okay, so I think that is almost it. Ooh, you cannot close it because it does that. So it's not gracefully closing the connections. So we need to teach you how to gracefully close the connections. It's because the stream is now being closed correctly. That is interesting because so that was the standard server failing. If I do it with just the one that we're using here, oops. And then I go back here, refresh it, then I kill it, just dies. But for some reason, when we use the standard, the one that comes with the standard library, oops, too much. When we use the one that comes with the standard library, it just fails completely. So I wonder if we're doing something fancy. It failed. Sorry, I turned it off. It crashed, so I turned it off. Because something is. So let's do that again. Test server that. Listen and serve, and then it does the port number, and then. Okay, so let's try it again. It's running again, so you could send another message. You want to try it out? Okay, so we refreshed it. It's connected correctly, and yeah, so it's working correctly. But here's the bad thing. So if I try to turn it off, like cancel it out, it fails, and then this panics happens. So I'm doing something that it doesn't like. So it's gonna keep panicking. So it's like panicking over again. And it's the event server that is doing it for some reason. I guess it's not. Oh, you know why? It's hanging the connection. So, wait, stop it. It doesn't want to go. Okay, so I will have to. Yeah, so something is happening where it's like doesn't want to close the connection correctly. And it's just like sending those errors. It's because I could show you in a bit. I'm gonna force quit it. Well, I'm gonna force quit two of them, so I don't know which one's gonna be which one, so we're gonna have to start some other stuff. Okay. Nope. Oh, wasn't that one. Okay, there we go. Nope, still doing it. Okay, I killed that one, which is okay. I think it's still running somehow. Give me a second. I'm gonna take this off. It got really stuck. Like in a really bad way. Yeah, it's like super stuck. How would I kill it? I think it's stop. You stop? Okay, I think I just restarted the terminal. Yeah, that's kind of what. So let me show you what is. So the package that I've been working on is this one, and it does that. Wait, where is it? Oh, I moved it, so it's here. HTTP server, and then server. Let go. So that package that I was working on, which I am not done yet, but I want to open source it soon, does pretty much that. It creates a different signals that you have to pass through it, and then it stops when you stop the server. It says a context, and then it shuts it down, right? And that's pretty much what it does, right? And when you do a wait, it's pretty much the same. So it's listening for the events and the signals, all that good stuff. So probably might just want to work on this tomorrow. Cause like I would hate to create the extra code. Yeah, I probably just finish. Like there's a couple of things I want to do, so I want to make the timeout configurable for when we're waiting. So I want to make that configurable. So I think that's kind of what we'll spend tomorrow doing, just like finishing up this server, and then I wouldn't open source it overly today. I will open source it maybe at the end of the day tomorrow, because then at that point we have this package is already open source. So this package is supposed to set up a set of utilities that I could just continually reuse. So I just want to do that more and more. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. For now, I think I'm going to end the stream here and then pick it up again. But yeah, Frank, that's pretty much what I'm doing here. And I will prefer to just reuse this code instead of re-implementing it in the overlay package. So for now, I'm just going to, yeah, end the stream here. I will be streaming tomorrow from, I will try to do 2 to 6 tomorrow too, to make it easier. But that's kind of how I would end it up. The only thing missing here, the things I want to do here, is that it doesn't handle, I think I should make a list first, but here, the missing piece is, I should just be able to release this completely by the end of it. So I need to make the timeout configurable, and then I want to check if it supports HTTP. No, so the missing piece here is that I want to support TLS. The missing piece here is that it doesn't support TLS yet. So I want to add TLS support and then open source it then. Cool. So I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, Frank, for your suggestions. It has been very amazing to get some suggestions. So as always, thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Have a nice rest of your day.